Shalom. Preparing for the deceptions to come is kind of a difficult thing, but probably the first step is to acknowledge what you're seeing, what is being showed to you in the news and things like that, current events. One thing that I think we should pay attention to is this SpaceX initiative called Starlink. This initiative has already started, and what it entails is placing thousands of satellites in the orbit of this planet in order to spread Wi-Fi internet access literally all over the globe. So far, I believe 60 some odd satellites have already been deployed, with the grand total being 42,000. Now you got to consider that 42,000 of these satellites they want in orbit around the planet. And this is all supposedly being done to be able to bring Wi-Fi access to people in more remote regions of the planet. People who probably in those remote regions of the planet either don't want anything to do with modern civilization, or if they are from modern civilization, they moved out there to escape the trappings of Wi-Fi signals and stuff like that all over the place. These people are quite literally trying to encase this entire planet in all their radio signals and their various types of signals so that you literally can't escape it, even if you want to. Now, things like this we have to be careful with, because it could be the building block for something a lot more sinister than supposedly spreading Wi-Fi all over the planet. I'm taken to consider scripture, in this case Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2, where the Most High basically tells us that we are not to be terrified by the signs in the heavens, although the nations that we are around are terrified of them. Now, one way of looking at that is to maybe consider that the Most High is talking about astrology, people who read the stars and say that, oh, these stars show that terror and destruction is coming. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is that this is a warning to us to let us know that these nations, these Gentiles, that they will be attempting in these latter days to orchestrate a grand deception, one that will take place in the very skies above our head. This deception, I would think the building blocks for that, the setting the stage of that, would probably entail launching thousands of satellites around the planet. See, they have to have a cover story for things like this. This is just too monumental an effort to be, hope that people don't notice it. Even the people in the astronomy community, the people who look through their telescopes at faraway heavenly bodies, even they are complaining about this initiative, this Starlink initiative. They're saying that all those satellites floating around up there will start to obscure their view of far off planets. Now, these are people who are astronomers. They know how massive the night sky is. And they're saying thousands of these satellites floating around up there could actually possibly put an end to the practice of astronomy. You know? So, like I said on the cover, they'll tell you it's to spread Wi-Fi internet all over the place. But we know that that's truly not the driving force behind stuff like this. And I think in Jeremiah 10, verse 2, the Most High is confirming that. This is the building block. Those satellites will be the building blocks for a grand deception of a planetary scale. What could this deception be? Well, it's long been theorized by the conspiracy theory community that the government, more specifically, the entities ruling the governments of the world in their pursuits to unite all humanity, that they were thinking about fabricating a alien invasion. And they would use this alien invasion event to get people to put aside their differences because, of the common threat of the invading aliens. Former President Ronald Reagan even hinted to as much in a long documented interview, where he basically states that he thinks that maybe an alien invasion is what would be needed for mankind to put aside its differences and come together. So we know that this is something that's been on their minds for a long time. They just didn't have the technology to do it until now. Another thing to consider is this technology, these satellites, could be used to fabricate another event that's designed to get people to come together, to reinforce established dogmas, and to, I think, ultimately derail our Yisra'elite awakening. That event I'm thinking of could be a second coming, second coming of Christ. They could use these satellites to project images in the sky. The thing about projecting holograms is that if you have a strong enough light source, all you need is like a mist or smoke-like substance, and you can project a hologram. Well, that mist, smoke-like substance could quite easily be the atmosphere of the Earth. So all these satellites could have like some extremely strong, LED lights on them. And with so many of them up there and working in unison, they could use it to fabricate a second coming, put on a nice dazzling light show that we never seen before in the night sky. See, stuff like that, this has been tried on Earth. In China, number of years ago. There's videos of this on YouTube, the infamous fog city, where I don't know if it ever was truly revealed who was behind this, but people speculated it was the Chinese government that was using a holographic technology to project the image of a city in the fog off the bay of some Chinese city. So people were looking out at the fog, and what they were seeing was a city out there, but it was a hologram. I just recently saw a little thing. It is something that happened at some sporting event. I believe it was in Dubai, where they premiered a holographic lion walking on top of the stadium at this sporting event. And the lion appeared like it was made of fire and everything like that. So they've made strides in holographic technology. But the premise, I believe, is still the same. You still need the light source, you still need the lasers, and you need like a mist or smoke to project that image on. You know, it kind of works just like a projector. You know, like in the movie theaters, you got your projector, and then you have your screen that the image is projected onto. It's just that with holograms, it's a 3D image instead of a flat 2-dimensional image. And they use the depth allowed with smoke and mist to project that 3-dimensional image. So something like this obviously would not be possible with just a handful of satellites, but we're talking tens of thousands of satellites that they want to put up there. 42,000 to be exact. You know, so many satellites, like I said, that even people from the astronomy community are beginning to show complaints towards this. You know, so yeah, it could be used to stage alien invasion or to stage a second coming. Now, when it comes to the second coming, that's particularly dangerous. That's particularly dangerous. I mean, first and foremost, you know, our Yisra'elite movement, we have suffered the same fate that pretty much every religion on this planet has suffered. A splitting of the movement because of different sub-ideologies. You know, we seem to all have it right when it concerns the Most High, Yahuwah. Though, you know, we got various ways we pronounce his name, but we seem to have that covered, that we accept that there is a Most High, you know, creator of all things, and that he should be acknowledged. But we differ on the small aspects of it. We differ on the Trinity concept. You know, some of us want to still go along with the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So as a result, and you know, some of us still, we want to differ on where exactly the true Israel is. You know, so we're suffering the same fragmentation that many of these religions, well, pretty much all of them, have suffered and experienced. And as a result, a deception like a second coming would catch a good many of us off guard. Probably the only ones that would be of us that would be immune to it are those of us who stick purely to the Tanakh / Old Testament, who do not follow any concepts of a Trinity, We, quite frankly, would be the only ones immune to that deception. Everyone else, the image of a Yahweh Shawai or Jesus projected into the skies from all these thousands of satellites floating up there, regardless of what color he would be portrayed as, you know. And something like that would catch a good many of us off guard. We would fall to that deception, you know. And perhaps that's the way it's supposed to be, because the Most High makes it perfectly clear that we are only supposed to acknowledge him and worship him. And those of us who want to remain hard-headed about that reality, perhaps they're just setting themselves up for this event and then whatever follows that, you know. Yeah. So something to stay informed about, this Starlink initiative being put forth by SpaceX. SpaceX is one of those Elon Musk companies, you know. So you got this world famous billionaire using his space company to litter the skies, quite literally, with tens of thousands of satellites. And we're told that it's all just to spread Wi-Fi all over the place. But we know better. We should know better. We definitely should. It should also be remembered that a similar stunt like this was tried, I believe, a year ago, or it might have been 2 years ago, by a different world famous billionaire, Mark Zuckerberg, via his Facebook company. The plan in that situation was to launch a satellite that would bring Wi-Fi technology access to all of the African continent. Now you might be wondering, why Africa? Indeed, why Africa? But that was the initiative. And in this situation, it failed drastically. The rocket that was to carry this satellite it blew up on the launch pad. And it blew up underneath somewhat interesting circumstances. Because in the video of this incident, you can clearly see a dark streak fly across the sky right before the rocket explodes. Now, this had a lot of people in the UFO community believing that this was actually caused by a UFO, that dark streak was a UFO, what some people in our Yisra'elite community would refer to as a chariot, and that this chariot shot something at this rocket and blew it up on the launch pad. So I don't know if there were any other attempts to launch another rocket by another satellite into orbit to bring internet to all of Africa by Mark Zuckerberg, but I do remember this event where at least the first attempt was a colossal failure. Perhaps the message in that event, if it truly was a UFO that blew that rocket up, perhaps the message was simply that would not be allowed, that they would not be allowed to transmit their Wi-Fi signals all over Africa via a satellite in orbit. I don't know if that message was received because, like I said, I don't know. Knowing these Gentiles and these Ashkenazis, they're very hard-headed. So, they'll keep on trying things. So they may have tried again and were successful. Or maybe that was the only attempt to do that. But Elon Musk appears to be successfully launching his satellites into orbit to hopefully bring, according to their statements, internet to the entire planet. And I would assume that would also mean the African continent. But we got to see where this goes. But that's pretty much it. Things to look forward to. Things to look out for, really. And probably going to turn out to, oh well, there's one more thing. Timing is very important about things like this. Now, the Starlink initiative is slated to go active. In other words, start offering some type of internet service next year, 2020. And we also have to look at what's happening in the religious community, namely Christianity. We have a new age Christianity being put forth by Kanye West. It's another attempt to repackage Christianity for the masses. And since it's Kanye West, the one doing it, that we are the prime focus for this repackaging. He's in Houston now. His first stop was a Houston jail. And of course, there's plenty of us in those jails. Plenty of Yisraelites there. So we got Kanye West going around the country, going around the world, repackaging Christianity for the masses. We got two world famous billionaires attempting to launch satellites into orbit, supposedly to bring internet to remote regions of the planet. One of them appearing to be successful so far. When you add it all up, looks to me to be the beginning of a grand deception. One that those of us who are not truly sticking to the word of the Most High will fall face first into. Shalom.